What's up, everyone? Welcome to the 578th episode of the Pokemon Podcast. It's super effective. I think my levels are good. Another new hotel cast.
New hotel.
I'm your host, Steve.
On the
With
run.
me is Greg.
Hello, I am back from Gen Con. I'm here with my mandated press pass for Pokemon Company report. The prize table was small, and I'm assuming that might be because of Worlds, but there wasn't a lot there. And I did play Max Raid Battles again, and I was with a bunch of kids who were super, super excited to just be alive and to do things. And the best part about that is we'd go around the table, and the guy would just look at me and goes, "Oh, you I know what you did. You're fine." Like, he was so focused on dealing with the kids. He just looked at me, and I'm like, "I'm just doing my turn over here. I can't actually make him attack because I've got Hisui and Lilligant up, and the only energy I have attached is one, which means I just get to draw 6 cards. So ignore me for a long time, my friend. I've got nothing to do."
Hannah's here as well.
I finally hit 100 in Pokemon Sleep. I didn't think I was ever going to do that.
Congrats.
I was exhausted.
Credits roll. We're done. We've made it. We can move on.
I genuinely thought I would never hit that.
Usually we do a Pokemon Sleep check-in, but there was a lot of news. I'm still playing Pokemon Sleep. This is the quickest check-in ever. I'm still playing. I still like it. Greg?
I didn't play while I was at Gen Con because that was going to be impossible, and I just do it. I half pay attention to it. It's fine.
Okay. Hannah, still playing?
Still playing. Got the Premium Pass trial. Canceled it immediately so that I don't accidentally roll into paying for it.
Yeah! That is the way
but I'm enjoying
to
the
go.
trial.
All right. Well, check back in next week for...
One and done, baby.
Okay, so here's today's show. We're going to talk about the Pokemon Presents that happened on August 8th, and then Worlds happened, and there was some news there. Not as much news, obviously, so we're going to be talking about that. We're recording this on August 13th for you two, and August 14th for me, because I'm in the future.
You're in the future!
I did a lot of things this past week. Full disclosure, Pokemon Company paid for my hotel, the hotel that's here that I'm sitting in now. They did not pay for my flight. I paid for that. They gave me a bunch of gifts from the Pokemon Center. I don't even know how to separate what I bought versus what they bought. The whole point of this disclosure is just because I have to disclose this per FTC guidelines. I have to tell you that they paid for my flight. They also invited me to a lot of things and gave me access to a lot of things that a normal person wouldn't. We don't have enough time to talk about that. I will tell you, though, this company has made me wake up at 6 a.m. every morning to get on a bus to go to do things. They really made me work for this hotel. That being said, it was great. And we'll probably do another bonus podcast talking about, I went to some Japanese tea. I got a very fancy bento box from the oldest, most famous Japanese company, and I didn't eat, and I felt that was very disrespectful. But also a fish was looking at me when I opened that bento box, and that destroyed my appetite because he still had eyes and it was looking right at me. I went to a couple Pokemon centers before they opened to see how they set it up. I went to Creatures, the people who make the Pokemon trading card game and made Detective Pikachu. I was there, and we interviewed a lot of people there. That was cool. And then I did a million other things. We're going to talk about none of that today. Instead, we're not going to talk about any of the cool things. We're going to cover this Pokemon Presents because there's a lot here. And I'm just going to go in order of what is on Pokemon.com. Which is on August 8th, the chief operating officer of the Pokemon Company hosted the Pokemon Presents. This included a bunch of games, but they're starting off with Pokemon Scarlet and Pokemon Violet. Fan favorite Pokemon are the star of the show. During the Get Mew and Mewtwo event, You can bring the mythical Pokemon Mew to your team right now by entering the password GetYourMew in Mystery Gift. Meanwhile, Mewtwo will appear in the upcoming Tera Raid event, and you will be able to defeat this Mewtwo for the Mightiest Mark. There will also be a special Tera Raid battle. There will also be special Tera Raid battle events that will help you challenge this legendary Pokemon, which are happening. I think they ended of this podcast, but they were dropping like vitamins and
I think there are 3 rounds of it.
yes. I don't know if they're going to be exactly the same though,
Fair.
because it didn't say.
I got my Mew.
I did not get mine yet. Did you get a good Tera type?
I got a little goth Mew, little dark Tera type. All sad in the corner with Dark Pulse, listen to Fall Out Boy, wishing it had a chain wallet.
Me too. Did you get your 30th Gastrodon that they distributed during Worlds?
No, I'm done.
Oh, shoot. Is
I
that
don't
over?
Need any more Gastrodon. I
No, I
don't.
think you can still get it.
I don't want it. Go away.
Don't worry. I think a senior won Worlds, and I think the only Pokemon that qualified on their team to be distributed is Gastrodon. Don't worry.
Every time.
This is a sad meta. This is a sad.
He's just really good. Just a good ability. So yeah, they announced 7-star Mewtwo. They're giving everyone a Mew. That's
Yay.
cool. Mew will be a random Tera type. You can obviously change Mew's Tera type. Apparently, they said that if you bring Mew against Mewtwo, it will get something special will happen.
Mm-hmm.
I think we know what's happening just based off people being like, we figured it out, which I think is Mew gets like a 20% attack boost and like a 50% HP boost, something like that. Take that with a grain of salt. Obviously, numbers, things can change. I think the thing that I want to point out that maybe people are forgetting is Pikachu was really different than the other 7-star raids. It started with a full shield. It was holding a held item. We know, just based off, Sarumi.net, I almost said .com, that
Oh, that's a different one.
some raid bosses had more HP than other 7-star raid bosses. So I think people are maybe just underestimating this raid already of like, oh, just give Mew Nasty Plot and just use Dark Pulse and maybe set up a light screen and it should be fine. Like, maybe. Sure. I like raids with coordination are a lot easier than raids with randoms. We figured this out, but who's to say that Mewtwo doesn't start with a shield? Have 2 shields, have 5 times the amount of health, like reset the stats, have 20 moves. There was also a thing in Sword and Shield where there were different Mewtwo's. So again, just saying maybe it's possible for there to be 2 or 3 different Mewtwo's, and this Mewtwo happens to have Thunderbolt, but this Mewtwo has Blizzard, but this Mewtwo has Flamethrower. That would give you a reason to, okay, my Bug-type Mew is very bad against the one that has Flamethrower, but good against the one that has Thunderbolt, right? Don't know. I'm just speculating. Maybe their first legendary 7-star raid isn't going to be as simple as, I don't know. Who knows?
Maybe you're not going to be able to solo it as easily as some
Yeah.
people are expecting.
Look, I'm excited to jump into randoms of all Mews. Just Mews across the board. Mew, 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 Mew.
Don't worry. I'm sure the Annihilate players.
Oh, it's going to be 3
you
Mews and
won't
Annihilate.
believe.
Or 2 Mews and Annihilate, but an Iron Hands.
Yeah, I have no clue how it's going to work, but it's cool. That's maybe more will come after this. Maybe a shiny Rayquaza because of the anime. I don't know. Who knows? More details revealed about the hidden area of Zero Treasure game. I put the words in somewhere.
And the Zero Treasures. Is this the first time we learned the names of the new legendaries?
No, we knew their names.
Did we?
Okidagi, Monkey Dory, Pheasantipity.
I don't remember them before. Why are they all? Why
We knew them.
Why are they
For
all?
sure.
Why are they all happiness related?
Because they're the heroes.
They're the heroes. I know. I just sort of was sitting there. I'm like, so we have Okie Dokie, Hunky Dory, and Serendipity.
Uh-huh. Unfortunately, no Doggy Woggy.
No, well, Doggy Woggy is not really used in popular culture.
We got a release date. We have September 13th, which you could argue is still summer, I guess. So maybe they're a little early.
Is
By what standard?
By
Every
the
school
seasonal.
has started.
By the calendar?
yeah, by the calendar, and it's
I don't know what
also
it's called.
a month from when we're recording this, so it's soon.
Yeah, it's 1 month. So they also showed some new Pokemon. They showed Diplin, which is the evolution of Applin. And then they showed the Blueberry Academy for the Indigo Disc. And that will have the BB League, which I think BB just stands for Blueberry. And there will be an Elite Four there. I think we kind of all saw that coming, I think, when they showed 4 people in a stadium. I don't know why it doesn't say here, but in their own press release on their own website, but they showed the Duraludon evolution.
Yeah.
Which
It's a thing.
It makes Duraludon so much better for me. I never really liked Duraludon. I didn't think it stood up as a single stage Pokemon. Just visually, I like its evolution. Enough.
Yeah, I don't know why it's not in this press release on their own website, but I can't remember its name.
Arcaludon, because it's an arch bridge, and the artwork is better than the in-game model.
Ooh.
Okay,
and
I'm
then
sorry. In-game, it looks like a staple remover. Okay,
You're right.
it looks like
There's
a
no lies
snappy
detected.
thing. Also,
I'm into that too, though.
I am not. I don't I don't like it. I don't like it. But the bigger question is the evolution coming to Unite? Because I was trying to think,
That's a great question.
if this is the first one that's gotten an evolution that's already in Unite, that gets an evolution that has had an evolution added after that game came out. Because, like, it is still weird that Pikachu doesn't evolve. Fine. And now that they've added
makes sense.
now that they've added megas, should Lucaria mega evolve the same way? Like, there are questions. But this is one that actually got an evolution that's in the game. It's like,
It's a good question.
do we get a stapler remover in Unite? Gosh, I hope not.
I would argue I hope so.
I hope so, but I think not.
I don't know. They gave like Scyther a
Split.
Clefairy doesn't need to evolve, right?
No, Clefairy does. I think Clefairy is a
okay,
forest
okay.
evolved. I think the only one that does a split evolve right now is Scyther. There's probably one that I'm forgetting because I don't play it.
Well, Urshifu splits, but-
Urshifu split. That's the other one that
But
splits.
Scyther just straight up not evolve.
Yeah. Well, you can either go Scyther or not evolve and stay Scyther. And it's a split evolution.
Got it.
But what about Cleavor?
Yeah, exactly.
That's you gotta pay the 500 gems extra to
You
get
gotta
the
pay- yeah.
Cleavor in.
Kick
Yeah,
Cleaver.
yeah.
Look, we're getting some top tier Unite talent coming, so we're fine.
That's second half. Can I do a side note?
Yeah.
Side note here. There's a lot of people that they really need to go to the gym because their stretching is impressive, but it's too much stretching. Just
Never too much stretching.
because a Pokemon is based on a bridge. I'm whispering. I'm in a hotel room right now. I'm gonna get angry. Okay. The connection of like Unova confirmed because Duraludon, a Gen 8 Pokemon, evolves into a bridge is the most crazy mental gymnastics I've ever seen. Like,
Okay, what other
there's
Pokemon
a bridge in
game?
every Pokemon game. There's multiple bridges.
List them. List all the bridges right now.
We cannot. I'm too tired to spend an hour talking about bridges in Pokemon game, but you better believe I can.
The only bridge that is at all meaningful is Unova's bridge, because you have to walk over it for a cutscene.
It's like, yeah, I mean, I guess.
There's definitely not lowering bridges in any other games ever.
And there's definitely not cutscenes on any of the other bridges.
There are not. If that is a Berenstain Bears thing right there.
There's just, when I think Unova, I've always thought bridges.
The most famous bridges in the world are only in New York. Nobody else has a famous bridge.
Not
Definitely
a
not San
single...
Francisco or anywhere in any other country. Only New York has a famous bridge.
Holy cow.
It's the only one.
Okay.
There's only the Brooklyn Bridge. That's it. There's one bridge built in the world, and it was in Brooklyn.
It's just one bridge. Two other Pokemon they showed. Raikou, he has a long neck. I don't know what else there is to say.
Boy,
It's dragon
no.
type.
I'm out.
I love it. I don't love
I'm
it.
out.
It's good. I don't love it, but
I
it's
love
good.
it.
Diplin is adorable. I love Diplin. Stapler remover, nah. Long neck, heck no. Be gone.
Looks better in the official art than it does in game.
We cannot
And
say this
also-
reason for every Pokemon.
When it's in battle, you can't see its head. It's too tall.
I'm into this.
No. I'm still on the fence about Iron Crown.
That's the Cobalion thing.
Yeah.
It's a pretty good name, honestly.
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean, it's kind of it's okay.
Like-
but no, Raging Bolt, be gone. Get. Bleh.
So I'm
I
assuming
still-
for... Go ahead.
I still don't like how they're doing this with the legendary beasts because they have their origin story already that seems very unrelated, so I'm hoping they're not actually related. But I'm satisfied with how goofy this one looks, with how silly this one looks.
So I'm assuming Teal Mask will give us Entei and
Yeah.
Terrakion.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, cool. Like, something to look forward to, I guess.
Do you think they're going to do a Caldeo?
Oh.
Because
what
there's
would
not
it-
really a
like,
fourth.
surfing pony.
Yeah. maybe Caldeo will be in both future and past, because that's how powerful
That would be cool.
that little one is.
Also, to all the YouTube comments, we forgot about Volcarona last week or the week
Yeah.
before. Sorry. To Iron Moth and Slitherwings. How could we? It was Greg wasn't here. Was that the Greg episode? We can blame Bobby.
Oh, it's always Bobby's fault.
Yeah,
Dang it,
there we
Bobby.
go. Okay. I think this is the better. I think this was a decent trailer. I know, like, I feel like overall the reception or the feeling of the presents were like people weren't super impressed with it, and maybe that was so top loaded with non-main series stuff. But like that's what every presents is now. Is like we have to touch on Unite, we have to touch on Masters, we have to touch on Pokemon Go. So it's like kind of whatever I expect at least. But DLC wise, I feel like I'm now a little more excited versus the other ones of like, I don't know how this is gonna go.
I feel I will say I feel more connected to the story after these trailers than I felt in the other ones. Like I actually felt like, oh, they're doing something, and then it was also helpful that they said you'll return to Area Zero. after, because I'm like, are you ever going to answer some of these questions? So it was very helpful
In
to
the
say.
second DLC.
Yeah, in the second DLC, you will go back to here. We're going to
We
do
know
something.
this because you have to finish the main story before you can do the second DLC. You don't have
Right.
to finish the main story before you can do the first DLC. The first DLC is going to be kind of a side story that is related, as far as we can tell. But I'm super excited for the second DLC, and there is a character who has Tera crystal earrings, but also
Yeah.
who has the symbols on her clothing are the same symbols that are around the Scarlet and Violet logos on the boxes, and we don't know what they mean yet, and they match all of the other random symbols throughout the game, and I just want to learn more about what's going on.
Yeah, don't get your hopes up, but yeah.
There's something, I swear.
I liked all the Blueberry League's looks. Like, I really enjoyed the designs. I thought that I think seeing characters, the only thing that makes me mad, I guess it's gonna make me mad though, they have all these great outfits and I'm still stuck in this hideous school uniform and I hate
But don't worry,
and I
they
want it.
have a bridge Pokemon now.
I have a stapler remover. Can I remove my clothing? No. And there's going to be photography. We get a selfie stick. That sold me right there. Selfie stick.
The problem, okay, when they were like, you get a wide angle stick. It's like, that's not the problem. The problem is the angles are not the problem. The problem is the Pokemon runs in a circle around you and it stops inside your body and you can't see it. Like, I don't need a wider stick. I need to be able to be like, sit down, stop
Didn't
moving.
they say with the new photography thing, you can force them to stop and sit? I thought I read
heard
that
that.
somewhere.
I heard that. I didn't see that in the trailer, but
I didn't see the trailer, but I read it somewhere, and I want to say it was something more official because who the heck knows what I was doing? It could be wrong, but hopefully, yes, that is a thing.
That
We
would
can
be
only
helpful.
hope. Another really cool thing that they showed were I think they were Mochi or the
Mochi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you can use that to reset stats and stuff. That seems really cool. That seems more permanent than Lady Clear. I think that was actually her official name, was like Lady Clear, who was on the Isle of Armor, literally on a little island in the middle of nowhere. You like swim out to her. She'd charge you like 10 Armorite ore or something to reset all the stats. Which kind of sucks because sometimes you don't need to reset all the stats. Like, it was better than like slamming
better
berries
than
into your
nothing.
Pokemon's mouth. But like sometimes you want to keep all HP but only reset like speed and then move it into attack. And it's like, like I have to redo HP again and that's expensive. So this was really exciting for me, and I think it was really exciting for competitive people because it does seem like mints / berries, like something that will possibly, hopefully, fingers crossed, continue into future Pokemon games versus, I don't know, some random NPC that will just wipe your stats with some random currency that just happens to exist in this game. But I don't know. Who knows? This company can't make a bag to save their life, and they were 8 million items scrolling. And why certain items are not in certain pouches is beyond me. But yeah, let's add another like 6. I don't know how many Moshis there are. 6, 7, 8. I don't know. I would assume there's one for all stats and then one for individual stats.
Yeah. And Ms. Breyer is the person you're referring to that has the earrings and all the symbols on. She's wearing a purple top and a scarlet bottom. Like,
Yeah.
absolute elegance. This is an iconic person. What she's doing in this school, services are better used elsewhere.
I think you meant a violet top and a scarlet bottom.
Yeah.
Is it a black and blue dress or a gold and white dress?
It's gold and white.
Was that the 2 color? I don't remember.
Yeah, it was.
It was, yes.
Okay, good.
We won't get too far into that because that ended sadly.
I told myself I would keep the show as short as possible because it's 1 a.m. for me. Crime Rant's back. I'm very excited. we need to move on.
You get your wishes. I'm still left in the cold. Worse.
We also
DLCs.
know that Terapagos is the little one, too. That's the other thing. Terapagos has its two forms. It's the same Pokemon. It's not a different Pokemon. It's not a Diancie and Carbink situation. It's possibly, seemingly, a Terra form. Mm-hmm. That just looks different when it terrestrializes, which Ogerpon also apparently does.
But the internet told me that Cyclezar was going to evolve into Koraidon and Miraidon.
And technically, they do.
No, they don't. They don't.
Technically, one's the future form.
There's no evolution.
So if you go 3,000 things in the future,
in a
it
different
changed.
way.
And if you go way into the past, it changed.
I got a bridge and Unova to sell you both right now.
I mean, does it look better than a staple remover? Because then I'm in.
No deal. Take it or leave it.
Nah.
Detective Pikachu returns. The great adventures of Detective Pikachu continue in this upcoming title. Detective Pikachu and his partner, Tim, join forces to solve the mystery of Tim's missing father. I've been told that the car crash does happen in the game. It also happens in the movie. The presentation introduces some of the people and Pokemon of our valiant heroes meet during their investigation.
Is Tim older
They showed
in
that
this
you
one?
could like... What was
He
that?
looked older in this one. Is Tim's older in this one? The model looked older to me in this Detective Pikachu. So time has passed.
Yes. Also, I think the love interest has new hair.
Yeah.
And Pikachu can ride a Growlithe. That's about all they showed.
That's the dream. That's the dream.
I think there's a Phalanx. That was cool, I guess. I'm excited for this game, but I feel like I can read the room. I feel like I got a pretty good temperature that the average Pokemon fan doesn't seem to care about this. Like, you could easily look at another spin-off game like New Pokemon Snap, and universally it seemed like everyone was pretty hot on that. Like, everyone was pretty excited. Obviously, you have Pokemon fans that are very TCG focused, or maybe very video game focused, or main series game focused, or very Go focused. And then you do have these spin-offs that kind of hit everyone, where they're like Pokemon Stadium, Pokemon Snap, that kind of stuff. The first Detective Pikachu didn't do numbers, again, with like that. And I think the only thing I could really say is like, this game should have came out closer to the movie. Mm-hmm. Like,
yeah.
I don't know what the technical issues were or what happened, but I mean, I'm glad it's coming out, but it just kind of feels real awkward right now.
It feels like it missed its moment and it's showing up to the party way too late. But, I mean, it's coming between the two DLCs, which I think is probably the best time they could have released it, because they will probably get some hype from people who are excited by the DLCs, who still want to do some Pokemon stuff, are out of the first DLC and waiting for the second, and then this one slots in, and it doesn't take a lot from them. I think it will probably still do well because they were pretty smart about when they're releasing it.
If they can get Niantic on, well, I mean, I guess they just tell Niantic what to do, right? They're the Pokemon company.
They can just tell them to do it.
If they tell Niantic to do here's a Pikachu with a detective cap in the game for this weekend, and I don't know, maybe if it's like Scarlet and Violet read your save data for Detective Pikachu, you get a Growlithe that you can ride. You get a Pokemon, right? Or you get an outfit. That would be nice. I think those things do slightly move the needle on that kind of stuff for people.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. If you're able to remind Pokemon Go players who don't pay attention to most of the rest of Pokemon stuff that Detective Pikachu exists, and say, oh, hey, there's this cool Detective Pikachu game that just came out, just by having a Pikachu with a detective hat in game, I think that would be a plus.
Yeah.
Did you guys know there's a brand new Pokemon anime coming called Pokemon Horizons the series? It will follow the adventures of Liko, a girl with a mysterious pendant, and Roy, a boy with an equally mysterious Pokeball.
Where's Ash?
Well, I think Ash is Liko's dad.
Oh, we're jumping into the future. Okay, I'm in. As long as nothing happens to Ash and Ash doesn't leave the series in any way, shape, or form, then I think I'll be into this new series.
Out of the entire presentation, they still didn't even announce a release date for the record.
Yeah. They said coming soon.
Yeah. I mean, is the new Netflix thing supposed to hit like September? Is that when the next thing hits? Did I read that somewhere?
Yes. The like Ash Goodbye.
Yeah, Ash Goodbye is like September 8th or something.
Yeah.
I mean, Ash isn't leaving, but sure.
I'm going to be a 90-year-old man before Pokemon Horizons comes to the U.S. Like what? Like this is probably the worst part of the presents because like we knew about it. You didn't really show anything new, and you didn't give us a release date. Like why even bother bringing it up?
You released a clip on YouTube showing that the translation is at least mostly done enough that you can show a clip from the first episode.
Enough for the first 10 minutes.
We got a different anime with a release date announced for the record.
Yeah. Oh, did you watch the new card game anime? Did you watch the first episode on YouTube?
I did not. So the Pokemon Company invited me to a lot of events this weekend. One was a screening of the TCG anime, and it was 4 episodes.
Oh.
I don't know how long each episode is. I was just told it was 4. I'm saying I was told it was 4 because I skipped that event. They invited me to a lot of different things. That was the one thing I skipped was that because my logic was the same logic for London. Why would I sit in a room and watch an hour-plus show when I'm in a different country and I can watch that show on a plane or on my couch when I'm not in a different country?
Yeah, I mean, the first episode was 10 minutes. So I think the first 4 would have been 40 minutes. I think they're going to be about 10 minutes each. It was super cute. Like, it was really enjoyable. Really, the animation style's cute. Like, it's fun. Like, it's not groundbreaking, but it's fun.
Okay, well, Pokemon Paldean Winds is not that anime. This is an original animated series set in the Paldea region. It will follow several Academy students as they come into their own, growing and learning as they attend school. Be sure to check out the full trailer. That will premiere on September 6th.
Mm-hmm.
So they're just... What was the other one called? Path to the Peak? Path to the Peak. Paldean Winds. Pokemon Horizons. None of these have Ash.
No.
There's no movie still.
Yeah.
I guess we've given up on Pokemon movies.
Well, they should. The movies can go away for a while.
Can we spoil the Zarude movie? It's been long enough. Here's a spoiler of the Zarude movie. The bad guy in the Zarude movie runs Coco's parents off the road and they die. It's an actual like bad guy thing. Like people die from another like that's how you end your movie series. Like we just committed a crime. Like he should literally be in prison. Yeah. It's not like I'm just trying to steal some Pokemon, which is also bad. But he drove a person off the road into a fiery crash. They perished. They're gone. Like a very dark movie.
The movie
they
made
never
some
did another
choices.
Pokemon movie after that.
I mean, they definitely made...
The Arceus one was kind of a pseudo movie.
Oh, yeah.
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 It was 90 minutes of something.
Yeah.
They're like, no one's going to watch this. Quick, put Cynthia in it.
I mean, Cynthia sells tickets for sure.
That's true. They talked about the World Championships, which they introduced a new card. So normally the World Championships would have, well, they've gone through some other cards. The card that's probably the most well-known is a card called Tropical Beach. They've had different variations of Tropical Beach. By that, I mean the art is different. Usually the card does the same thing. This card is called Paradise Resort, and it says, not making this up, I promise, the retreat cost of each Psyduck in play, both yours or your opponent's, is 1 energy less.
It's so specific.
It's super specific. And unless there's like a Psyduck GX coming out anytime soon, I don't know. EX, sorry.
I was going to ask why. Psyduck. Like, I'm like, I don't play the card game. Is this a thing? Is this like a Psyduck strat that I'm just completely unaware of?
I don't know. I don't understand this card. Psyduck
Maybe
isn't
it's
even
just
the
Psyduck
Pokemon.
just because Psyduck.
Yeah,
I mean, Psyduck isn't even on the card.
he is.
Look at the
He's
artwork.
the smallest
Okay.
Pokemon in the card.
Okay.
Where?
He's right under the rainbow.
Yeah, I see it. Okay, I see it now.
I don't know. It's a card.
I
that's
love
for sure.
that Mousehold's watching. Like, we don't want any part of this. Just move on, everybody.
Me too. Path to the Peak. We just kind of talked about that. Andy Ghost of the Pokemon Company introduced a new short animated series that will premiere in 2023. Pokemon Path to the Peak tells the story of Ava, who strives to enter the world of competitive Pokemon trading card game. She works with her friends, family, partner Pokemon Oddish to rise to the top. The first episode will be released on YouTube on August 11th. I've only heard good things about it. So it has a very Disney Pixar look to it. Mm-hmm. So that's cool. I'm sure that style is in. That style's always been in, I guess. So
Yeah, I mean, we're kind of moving away from the Gravity Fallsy big, that sort of art style, and transitioning into sort of the Pixar-y style again. So it's kind of, I watched it. It's kind of a weird CGI feel blend, but for the story that they're telling and how they're telling it, like, it works really well. Like, I felt like, oh, this is actually really nice to watch. It is enjoyable. The art style and the world that they've built are really great. Everybody feels cohesive and uniquely different. So, like, for a 10-minute stint, I'm like, this is super cute. Like, it's a really basic story, but like, it is quick and fun and cute, and they have plenty of room to sort of launch from where they started. So, like, just give it a shot. It's 10 minutes. It's cute.
I'll wait till they're all on YouTube, and then I'll promptly forget that
You
they're
will.
all on
'Cause
YouTube.
Did you ever watch?
Have you watched Hisui and Snow?
Yeah.
No.
For crying out loud! It won an award.
It's really good.
Yeah, it's on my to-do list. Pokemon trading card game and Pokemon Stadium 2 are now on Nintendo Switch Online.
Yep.
Pokemon Stadium 2 does, just like Pokemon Stadium 1, does not have a Game Boy player. So there's a giant Game Boy in that stadium where you could play your Game Boy game, and that doesn't work.
A lot of fun mini games, though.
True. If you have never played the Pokemon trading card game, it's pretty, I wouldn't say easy, but it is, maybe this is nostalgia in me. I think it still holds up, honestly.
Yeah,
And
it's
it has
good.
banging music. Probably some of the best music in any Pokemon game. So I don't know. I think it's fun. I think it was very ahead of its time when it came out.
Yeah, somebody asked on socials if you can play multiplayer on it like you could in the original game, and I have no clue.
You should be able to.
I should be able to. I can't find anything that confirms that, yes, you can play multiplayer on the TCG like you could back in the day. I haven't found anybody that says, yes, it should work. I don't know. I haven't played it to test it out.
I was thinking more about this weekend, mostly because every time there's a Pokemon Presents, people complain / ask / wonder when, if ever, red, blue, yellow, gold, silver, ruby, sapphire, whatever. Name your Pokemon game. When are they going to come to Virtual Console? Those words don't exist anymore because because Nintendo hasn't used Virtual Console in 7 years or whatever. But anyways, when are these old Pokemon games going to come to the future? And the more I thought about it, I don't think ever. I don't think they're ever coming. A couple of reasons. Number one is on the 3DS, when you bought them, you were giving Game Freak the majority of the money, right? You were paying $9 for them. When you subscribed to Nintendo Switch Online, you were giving Nintendo the majority of the money, and like probably like Spotify, like iTunes, you're getting pennies back because they got to split it between all the games on the services, right? And for Nintendo, that's not a loss, right? Because most of that stuff is their games. The other thing, we know this as a fact, the Pokemon Company / Game Freak doesn't like any cloud saves. It's one of the few games that do not work with Nintendo Switch Online. And how the Nintendo Switch, was it called? The Nintendo Switch Online?
Yeah.
How that works is every single game has that rewind feature. You can rewind time. There's no game that has that disabled. Somebody can correct me if I'm wrong. So when you put the weight of Game Freak doesn't like rewind. They don't want you to do that. They're very protective of you duplicating Pokemon or adding Pokemon to a cloud and then going backwards and then getting them back again. And for whatever reason, that's a whole other argument whether you care or think that's worth it, right? We just know that Game Freak doesn't like that. And Game Freak / Pokemon knows that their IP is incredibly valuable. So why would they put that on a service just to get barely any revenue when they can do what they have been doing, release something as bad as BDSP and become one of the best-selling remakes of all time and just cash in? Why would they put Red, Blue, Yellow up there when they can make a game like Let's Go, when they can do their own thing, avoid the rewind feature, avoid Nintendo taking most of the profits? And the more I think about it, I don't think they're ever coming. The 3DS was so different because you were buying them directly and giving Game Freak that money. Most of the money.
The only pin I could put in that is I could see them doing a big push for the 30th anniversary to like re-explore our roots. Is about the only way I could see them being convinced to put them back out in that form. Like, that's the only scenario that I can think they would want to have a year of things coming out. So we're going to do all these games coming to Nintendo Online, probably towards the end of life of the Switch at that point, because 30 years is like, what, 2-3 years away? So that's the only time. Like, I don't think they have much desire to put them back out. Like, they, in their time frame, they just did it. So
I think, same thing with Detective Pikachu. It's coming out at this weird time. Like, they missed the mark. I feel like if you're going to put out Red, Blue, Yellow, you put them out around Stadium. And they added Pokemon Bank to the original ones, right? If they put them out, they would have to add Pokemon Home. So it's like you have the Game Boy player and Stadium. I don't know. It just feels like that ship has sailed at this point.
Yeah.
Not good news for game preservation, but yeah.
Oh, I'm sure they'll come back around. Game Freak, like their fans, love nostalgia. They know. Pokemon Go. There was a Pokemon, they just said, Pokemon Go Fest is coming to New York. There will be the 2-day digital global fest on August 26th and August 27th. And Niantic forgot that Galar Pokemon existed because we're skipping those and we're going right to Paldea.
I want Corviknight. I'm so sad that we're not getting Rookity before we get into the Paldea Pokemon.
I want my Boltund. Ding dang it.
I know a lot of those choices come from like the Pokemon Company of like, here's the Pokemon Company wants to feature. Like, hey, Niantic, you didn't make Pokemon Sleep, but you're going to promote Snorlax because we're promoting Pokemon Sleep, right? Like, I get it. I don't know why they had an opportunity to line up Paldea with Scarlet and Violet. And to be frank, maybe they didn't need it. Obviously, Scarlet and Violet sold very well, but it just... this like weird, like, 8 months later, we're getting Pokemon. Like, wouldn't you want... This is the business. Maybe this is why I'm not a businessman. But wouldn't you want, like, the new Pokemon, not all of them, but some of them, to appear in Go, so people who only play Go, or say, wow, look at this Flamingo. That's new. Oh, it's in this new game that just came out. Like, that's my logic. But
they may be working towards just the timeline I'm seeing. They may be working towards doing that for the 10th generation. That once they do this, once they've gotten Paldea and Galar all figured out, then it sounds like they're going to be on top of it for the next gen.
That depends on how many employees are left on Niantic, though.
Yeah,
that's true. I'm being generous.
Yeah, I mean, like, sure, whatever. They're just starters.
Yeah, the starters are coming, and they skipped a generation. Why reasons? Shush, go away. Don't think too much about it.
Like, the shoe trailer was pretty hype, though. Like, that was a cool way to reveal Like, the shoes were cool. I don't know. I thought it was a cool way.
If you like shoes, it was hype, I guess. It was confusing otherwise.
I literally thought, is this a partnership I haven't heard of?
Right? I thought maybe more customization was coming.
I mean, because one of the things you can customize are shoes. And then they're like, guess what? And I'm like, oh. That's it? I mean, I want shoes. I actually want some of those shoes.
Pokemon Sleep is getting their first event, which is going to occur on the night of a full moon on good sleep days. Isn't it like National Sleep Day, like coming up too, I think? Drowsy Power will be powered up. You can encounter more rare Pokemon.
National Sleep Day already happened, but this would be at the end of August if they're actually timing it for the next full moon.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, World
they just didn't
Sleep
announce
Day
a specific
is in
date.
March?
Yeah.
Oh.
Sleep Day, Sleep Week, that already happened. I tweeted at a Pokemon Sleep Twitter account back when Twitter was a thing.
Got it.
But the
Twitter.
next full moon, yeah, me too, is going to be at the end of August. They just didn't announce a specific date for this for some reason.
Yeah.
They announced some Unite stuff. We'll circle back to Unite in the second half of the show. Pokemon Masters EX, Nimona, and Palmont are coming to Masters EX. They were like, it's dropping today. So,
And it did.
I got Nimona on my second pull. I was
Shit.
very
that's
happy.
awesome. You get 3,000 gems if you just log in to the celebration. August 16th, Victor and Spectrier will be coming to the game. And if you'd like to get scammed, Pokemon Cafe Remix is still around, and they added
Still remixing.
They added Summer Fun Jigglypuff and 5-Star Chef Tropical Vaporeon. Not to be confused with 5-Star Chef Vaporeon. This is the tropical version. Plus, Sprigatito, Fuecoco, Quaxley have returned. And I think they added Mewtwo recently, Mewtwo's in Unite, Mewtwo's in Detective Pikachu, Mewtwo's in Cafe Remix, Mewtwo's coming to Scarlet and Violet. Like, why was the Pokemon Presents purple neon and flashed a weird M? That was never answered. We can just assume it was Mewtwo. Which is, I think, what we said last week.
Yeah, there was the Mewtwo event that did get announced, so they just never tied it together.
There's no neon in that announcement. There's no neon at all in that Presents. So, sure. I guess. It was okay. It was fine Presents. I think
I had to check if I won the Unite prediction. I have to get into Unite.
Before we go to break, I think there's a longer conversation that we're definitely not going to have here of whether these Presents are too many with a lot of fluff versus not having one. Like, I was pretty satisfied, but I feel like I'm easy to satisfy versus people being like, there was nothing in that. But then it's like people complain that there hasn't been news.
I will always fall on the side of more communication than not. Mm-hmm. And even if you think, oh, there was nothing in there, it was fluff, they didn't do anything, it is still better to know that they are working on things and presenting the ideas and underlying them than to just be radio silent for months on end.
And it's good for the people who are playing those games.
Yeah.
I'm sure 3 Cafe Mix fans are very happy.
Oh, yeah. But I think also people sort of ignore that in a vacuum, all y'all will fill that vacuum with nonsense. So I would rather not give you tons of space to fill that vacuum with nonsense. Thank you very much.
But what about the bridge?
What about the staple Pokemon? When are we getting a staple Pokemon that can be removed?
I thought it was okay. I thought it was an okay Presents.
Some things are great, some things are bad, whatever.
They've got a lot going on right now. It wasn't the most exciting, but they've got a lot going on. Yeah. Smaller things.
It was a fun thing to watch for the brief amount that it was on, and then I moved on with my life.
Pretty much.
Speaking of small things, there was a small thing called Pokémon Worlds in Yokohama, and we're going to talk about that.
Did that happen?
Yeah. I did. Crazy.
Did any of us go? Because I couldn't afford to. Hannah, did you go to?
I just decided to record in a hotel room. Dark.
At 1 a.m.
For fun. Well,
Me too.
1 a.m. is not that unusual for a thing that Steve decides.
That's the only normal part about this.
That's the only normal part about any of this right now.
All right, we'll be right back. And we are back from break. So the Pokemon World Championships have finished in Yokohama. I am still in Yokohama. I'm leaving tomorrow. I'm going to Tokyo. And I'll be there. So I guess, side note, I'll be streaming in Tokyo on Twitch this upcoming week. So if you want to see Japan and Pokemon Go and whatever else then we're doing, I guess come to the Twitch streams. I think you guys watched a little bit of it. I was here. So, I was at London. I've been to Nashville. I've been to DC. I've been to San Diego. I've been to quite a few worlds. So I could safely say that this was the biggest worlds they've done. There was so much to do that I don't think you could do everything. Like they succeeded. This was the year where they were like, you can even if you didn't get into the 20 lotteries, they had a lot of lotteries.
There's still plenty to do.
Yeah, even if you didn't get into the lotteries, there was still so much to do that they put on, and I guess there's that stigma or that stereotype. Maybe stereotype's a better word. That like Japan just loves Pokemon more than everyone else, and it's just built into the culture. That is 100% true. Kids, parents, 20-year-olds, 30-year-olds, businessmen, cult leaders. No, there was no cults that abducted me this time. That was the last
Not
Japan.
yet.
Not yet. We have
still
10
time.
more days to find one. Like, just these people everywhere that I just described wanted to do everything. They were okay with waiting in long lines to get pictures with the wall art, or lines for Pokemon Center, or lines for pictures with statues, or just taking pictures of like, it's just something that you don't see at like a Nashville or a London. Like, you see Pokemon fans, right? You see people who love Pokemon, you see competitors, you see people that travel for Pokemon, but you don't see like this level of love for the brand. It's almost probably like people who live Disney. That's probably the closest America has, I think, is Disney fans. But Disney's not everywhere. It's Florida and California. Well, it is everywhere, but like,
If they weren't so litigious, it would be in a lot more places.
but yeah, imagine turning a city into Disney World, but everyone in this city / country loves the thing you just turned it into. It was cool. It was really cool. So I don't even know where to start. I think if you guys have questions, I can answer, and we can go through before we tackle the end announcement. Just the end announcements aren't that in depth. They're pretty short announcements.
Did you get to see any of the raffle stuff? Like, did you get to go on the ship or any of that, or was that?
Yeah. There was, the ship was a raffle. I got to go on the ship today. There was a festival with like festival mini games. It was a very Japanese summer festival. It was just Pokemon themed, obviously. I got to go into that. That was a lottery. Both the festival's on YouTube if you want to see that. The ship stuff will come to YouTube. I think the ship was really, I think both were really cool. I went to a 3D dance show. That was also a lottery thing, where dancing Pikachu. I saw Lucario do a backflip, and then watched him Naruto run off the stage. I watched a Cinderace kick a digital fireball, and then fire actually flared out of the stage. That was cool. There was a Pikachu, Greninja, Lucario, Cinderace, Zeraora, and Pokemon with legs. You know, that some could argue they were humanoid.
The leg Pokemon.
That was like a 25-minute show of just Pokemon dancing with fire blazing in the background. It was really cool. That was a ticketed event. For the record, all these ticketed events were free. You just had to win the ticket. There's probably a couple other things I did. I have to look at my notes, but yes. Again, even without the ticketed events, there was still more than enough to do. The Pokemon Center line was absolutely insane, and people were very okay with waiting in it. Also, it was the same thing as Pokemon Centers in the US, in the sense of when you win a lottery ticket for Pokemon Center, or you're just waiting in line in the US for Nationals, it was like a QR code, and then you got your time slot. You can bring up to 4 people. So what would happen is people would see you walking in the direction of the Pokemon Center, and if they saw there was like 2 of you, they would go up and ask if you had a ticket and if you were full with 4 and if they could be your 2 extra friends. People were very bold. Japanese people, English people, they were like, hey, are you going to Pokemon Center? Do you have spots for me? Like, you can, like, no, I know you can bring up to 4. I know you guys aren't going to ask this. I'll get this out of the way right away. There was a fist fight in the Pokemon Center. People were actually punching each other for a Bear Walker skateboard, and the police were called and they were escorted out. My first question was, were they American? Because that's what I thought. They were Japanese, but there was only 500 Bear Walker skateboards. They were a lot. I think they were 250 USD or whatever. The American dollar is really strong here. So the police were called twice for this event. The first, I shouldn't be laughing. The first was a fist fight over a skateboard, which resulted in both men getting arrested. The second time the police were called, which I don't know if it was before or after the fist fight, was somebody's binder of thousands of dollars of Pokemon cards that they were selling got stolen, which stealing is really not a thing in Japan. Like, it's pretty frowned upon. Like, when I was at GoFest, I left my backpack for like 20 minutes and it was fine when I came back to it.
I mean, to be fair,
stealing
is frowned upon here too.
Yeah,
like
but
America's
something...
like, if it's left, just take it. I mean,
it depends how good it is, right? Hannah, what were you gonna say?
It's something you hear about when you are going to Japan for travel of any sort. When I lived there for 3 months, that was something I heard when I was researching how to be there for 3 months, because I was like 18 years old and I was gonna be there by myself. So yeah, I learned about how theft doesn't happen as much.
I have no clue. I don't think they ever found the person who stole. So this is a thing that happens at a lot of Worlds or even NAIC or OCIC, where people will come with binders and they set up shop. They will just find a coffee table or something and there'll be a whole row of them, and they're selling cards, right? They're in the trading booth. Maybe they're trading, right? I'm sure trades are happening, but the majority of it is we're selling you cards. Like, you're flipping through the binder and they got 30 Charizards and they're selling them for $1,000 each, right? So that was very prevalent day 1 and day 2. And then day 3, I woke up, I walked outside, and there was signs literally every 4 feet of no selling or trading Pokemon cards in the...
Sounds like my elementary school playground.
Yeah. I don't know where the sellers went. I'm sure they moved somewhere.
Okay, they moved.
But they were left alone the first 2 days. I don't know if the Pokemon Company likes that. I don't know if they like a bunch of people selling old playmats for hundreds of dollars or deck boxes or there was a Leafeon card. They also had all the other EVs, but they were somebody in the comments. I don't know the name of this card. I couldn't look it up. I don't even know what to Google search, but they're cards that were only in Japan, and they have like a white background, and the Pokemon is just like a doodle. It's like a very not like a kid's doodle, but like a very sharp artistic doodle. So there was like Leafeon, Jolteon, like all the EVs, right? And this guy had like 9 of each. He had like full pages of them. And somebody was asking about the Umbreon, and like obviously they had to get a translator, and then he came back and he was like $5,000 USD. And I was like, then the guy was like, this is way too much. Like, I paid $2,800 for it. And he was like, well, was it graded? Was it not graded? And he was like, it was graded. Like, you're charging way too much. And he was like, this is what I'm offering. And I was like, well, Umbreon's always like super expensive. And I was like, I want to see. So like I flipped through and I was like, no one likes Leafeon. I was like, how much is the Leafeon? and he was like $3,000. And I was like, I don't know if this is like the right price because I don't know the name of this card. Like, I don't know what to look it up.
Is it these? Hold on. Where the heck is the chat in this program?
Yes, those are it. Yep.
Okay. They are Nagaba Eevee Evolution cards.
I don't know what you Google search to find that.
You want to know what I Google search to find it? I put in doodle Pokemon cards, white background, and then just looked for something that matched what you were saying, and I found the card. That's why I said to you to confirm.
Yeah. So on eBay, the first one I see is $21 for this Leafeon. They were only released in Japan. Maybe this is a fake card. This is a PSA graded 10 one. And it's Gem Mint PSA 10, $43. And he said,
wow.
Maybe he doesn't know how to convert yen to USD.
Yeah.
But the other guy with the Umbreon was like, no, I paid like $2,000 for mine. Again, maybe.
Wow.
Maybe Umbreon is. Anyways, it was. There was part of me that was like, are they throwing out huge prices? No, the Umbreon is like $100, and this one is like $239. Mint 10.
Maybe they were a whole lot more before the card crash.
Yes, or maybe like.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking on eBay, and like nothing's over 100.
Yeah,
like the whole. I found
that's why I was shocked that these two dudes. So, I was maybe like they weren't aware. Maybe they were like, oh, Americans don't know that like it's very accessible to get Japanese cards in America.
Yeah,
I don't know if you know this.
eBay
but there's a thing called the internet. But also, if you're like trying to sell cards, why are you like highballing people? Don't you want to move product? Like, are you just highballing people because you're betting they don't know the prices of things? Like that one dude, he seemed to know the price right away. Also, there was a Pikachu with a KFC logo on it, which was like, I think Thailand or India, somewhere around, that general area that is not the US. But I don't know. Like, it's so weird for like.
I should have looked for these at Gen Con because a bunch of places had like Japanese exclusive Pokemon cards, and I didn't think to look for these.
I don't want to sound like gatekeepy or like dismissive of people selling Pokemon cards. That's like a perfectly okay hobby / business, but I feel like there's just something scummy about, and I hate using that word, but like even if I wanted to buy something, I felt weird. Like all these people, they're just sitting there all weekend. They don't care about the tournament. They're just sitting there with binders, and they have a bunch of boxes behind them, and they're just waiting for you to like thumb through their stuff to be like, here's a price.
Yeah,
and this is not exclusive to Yokohama.
And
like,
for the record, the KFC Pikachu was an Indonesia exclusive.
Indonesia.
I mean,
Thank
I
goodness.
think the issue is, from our standpoint, whenever you see somebody on the street selling something, chances are good it's counterfeit or fake. Like that was
another thing I thought about is like, are these KFC Pikachus real? Because I want an authentic.
Yeah, I mean that is
kernel.
a pretty standard thing in America, and we always hear like all the Chinese knockoffs. Like you always want to ask, is this a Wish version of this Pokemon card or is this real? And you don't know, right? Like when it's a person that's not tied to something that you can do research on, I would always say it is best to be skeptical of what they are selling, because you don't know who they are. You don't know where they got it from. You don't know when they say I had it graded, you have no way. Like there's nothing behind that to give that any sort of verification to sort of eliminate all of your fears around it. Like,
well, I would trust the graded because they would have to send it in and it has like a number to follow.
I mean, yeah,
I would trust that more than
provided they didn't make up the numbers, right? Like we all know what those look like. Like
I would hope. I don't know. I would hope PSA has a good way of making sure people aren't counterfeiting PSA.
I mean, I'm sure they do, but you're not going to know that sitting on the side of the street looking at it. If it looks like a PSA thing, like what am I going to do right then and there with the person pressuring me?
Yeah, I think like at NAIC they had like Yeti Gaming and a bunch of other like stores, and that didn't feel weird because they're businesses. Like there is like they don't want to take in cards that are fake. They want to make sure that but versus like, you know, just a Japanese dude or a British dude or a German dude sitting on the side with 2 binders, all of Charizards, being like, how did you get so many Charizards and why are you charging 3,000 each? Like, that's a lot of money. Like, it makes sense something was stolen, right? There's just so much money sitting in a single area, and there's so many people walking through at a time. Like, it's hard enough to like weave in and out of traffic, and you just have people sitting at little coffee tables or on the floor because there's not enough space.
Look,
so it's not surprising something got stolen.
The Gen Con theft has y'all beat. 2 people walking off with an entire pallet of cards.
Not this fight, though. I was saying let's change topics. I was saying for weeks that I thought Yokohama would be a disaster. And there was a lot that went wrong. I think Hannah has a list of some things.
Just a couple, just a few.
Drama seeker Hannah here. Always on top of all the latest goss and drama.
No, I've been stressed and busy. I've just been keeping up with the slack. There are a couple of things, particularly with VGC, that happened this past weekend that are just kind of standouts. So the less controversial one is the LAN disconnects that happened to some of the players in the top 16, which is they disconnected and they had to play sudden death matches for their matches. And this happened multiple times in the top 16. Which, yes, is unfortunate and sucks. And I don't know if this has happened to this extent before, but I also am not super tuned into top 16 all the time.
You know, I think it was a bold choice for the Pokemon Company to roll out spectator mode finally at a world tournament with a new stadium, which for the record, the new stadium with the lanterns and the actual crowd, not just like grandma cheering behind you and like the fireworks in the sky. The new stadium looked great. When they rolled out spectator mode, which was the evening of day 2, it broke. During an official world championship tournament, it didn't work. Like the first match they used spectator mode, we, the viewer on Twitch, I was in my hotel room because I was too tired. I was not in the stadium. We were not seeing spectator mode. We were seeing one side of the battle. And on top of that, we were seeing the wrong side of the battle. So the commentators were commentating the wrong side of the battle because they were also seeing the same thing we were seeing. So it only made sense like 10 minutes into the battle when the commentators were like, oh, he woke up, but they were talking about the other team where it was like, oh. And the 2 people fighting for the rollout of the spectator mode happened to have the 6 same Pokemon, which
that doesn't
before
help.
anyone says like, oh, the same Pokemon, the teams were very different this entire tournament. It just, this matchup happened to have 6 similar Pokemon.
That was a choice.
That was a choice. It was sure a choice. And
Yeah.
I don't know the official rule. I should ask my friend Joe because he made top 32. So, which is incredible to make top 32 at Worlds. Absolutely an incredible accomplishment. And this has happened at NAIC and other events where like two people will queue up and then you'll see both Pokemon come out. And then all of a sudden it says like system has disconnected. And then it's like 20 minutes to like repair them. Like, do they play the same leads? And if they do play the same leads, what is stopping them from changing the two Pokemon in the back that you didn't see? Like if I see you led Tornadus Urshifu and I had two Pokemon in the back and I'm like, oh, they're bringing Urshifu, I'm going to switch. Like, do the judges know? Is it like the same? I like seeing what they lead is part of the game, right? Like like leading is a very important part of the match composition. This shouldn't be happening though.
No. I mean, it's one of those things. Is like I don't know what the solution is, and especially in the moment. But you should not have multiple land disconnects, right? Like that is just a thing, especially in an arena and a game system that requires those connections to be solid to play your game. And stuff happens, I get it, but I sort of read people things online and like it's always hard because you're getting their side of things and they're upset about it and they're upset in the moment. And if I was in a judge and had a set of rules, I don't know what to do. What is the right decision given the situation? Like, I don't know what that looks like. And like the problem that we're getting from a lot of these reports is people are admitting that it happened, but you're seeing the people who lost, who are upset, who are saying like, I was going to win the whole thing. Were you? We don't.
Yeah. And that said, we can probably move into the next more controversial thing that has happened, which is that I think more players have been disqualified this year than any other years in the top 16. In the top 16. That a number of players, especially in the top 16, once it got up there, and I think before that too, were disqualified because of Gen Pokemon. And that is an entire conversation on its own.
Yeah. I mean, I saw a bit of the drama around people being mad that in order to have like some of the best things, you had to have purchased all of these games and the cost going into it. I'm like, okay, yeah, but also like, have you seen how much it costs to do any professional sport? Like, I had to have the best trainer and the best coach, and I had to have the best, and I had
you ever buy a tennis racket?
Yeah, like, have you paid for skis? Like, I get that this is electronic data, but in a situation where you are trying to make your esport legitimate, you do have to do some things to make sure people are playing legitimately. And like, I'm reading one tweet's like, I thought I was trading with a reputable trader.
That was the old Ray Rizzo thing back when he had a Gothitelle in a Dream Ball where Gothitelle couldn't be in a Dream Ball, and they did not disqualify him at the time. He did lose, so he didn't continue, but that was still a huge debate at the time of like, well, he said he traded somebody. This is obviously a hacked illegal Pokemon. He lost, but what if he won? Like, how does that look going forward? And are you giving him special treatment because he's a 2-time world champion, I think at the time, maybe 3, versus if this was somebody else, would the judge just pull the trigger and just be like, okay, we're dekeying you?
I mean, last World Championships, the Pokemon Go World Champion, when he showed off his profile, did have a number of steps that was actually impossible to have taken as a human being since the game had come out. So there are players winning who have used things.
Yeah.
Used tools.
I think it is up to the head judge. That's number one.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure who the head judge here was. I would assume there was a couple head judges, and one of them was probably Japanese based because obviously Japan has a lot of tournaments, Japanese nationals and stuff, right? I don't know all the head judges. There's also this black box that has existed since Black and White. And whatever this black box does, it reads your game and it checks for Pokemon. No one knows what the parameters of the black box is. You could speculate that the black box is only checking for, to make sure that Pikachu can't learn Flamethrower, right? Pikachu has Flamethrower, all of a sudden it says it's illegal, and then that doesn't pass the hat check. We don't actually know what the box does. If we did know what the box did, you would just build around it. So they're never going to tell you what the box does.
Right.
So it's easy to speculate that the box has been changed recently to read that more accurately for hack checks. It is true, based on people looking into people with champions teams, because champions will post their teams, and it's, people can look into it and they could be like, well, this Chen Pao has 6 perfect IVs. Statistically, that's possible, but also statistically, that's impossible because you're rolling like 32 times 32 times 32 because Chen Pao is supposed to be base 3 perfect IVs. So the chance of you getting that is like you would probably find like 400 Chinese before you got like 6. So like you could, without the black box, you could manually look at somebody's game and be like, you have a Tinglu and a Chen Pao and they both have all perfect IVs. Like this is just not a realistic situation at all. So I don't know what those hack checks were, but yes, there were a lot of people that got banned for that. But also remember that they banned 4 of the top ever best playing people in Korea. They are never getting unbanned. Those players could have easily built they were all running Metronome. I don't know why they felt the need to hack it, unless that was also a statement to the Pokemon company to be like, we're hacking it and we're doing Metronome. But obviously it was very easy to get 6 of those Pokemon with just Metronome within probably like 20 minutes. I've never hacked any of my Pokemon.
I know I've received them from Wonder Trade, but
yeah. I heard that some people were saying that the box was checking all of their boxes, and that's why they were banned. Like their team was legit, but they might have gotten a hacked Wonder Trade. That's not, from my understanding, how the black box works. It specifically looks at your team because it has to look at your team in the battle box. So once it's locked into the battle box, it reads that specifically. It doesn't read your entire PC. But at the end of the day, it's up to the judge. And so if the judge decided to enforce that check more, that's their right as the head judge. Back when Black and White came out, there was kind of the same thing that you brought up, Hannah. People were complaining that a lot of people were getting disqualified for hacked Pokemon. The head judge at the time was Maryland, and Maryland, that was what he wanted to check more cartridges than normal. Like he wanted to do more random checks than past head judges, and it upset people because they couldn't squeeze through. This is there's going to be like the conversation of like, well, your Pokemon doesn't matter, it's the skill. Yeah, your skill does matter, but also what Greg said, if you want this to be a legitimate sport, and they create rules, whether you like them or not. But the important thing here is, if they're creating rules and they're not enforcing the rules, what's the point of the rules?
Yeah.
If this rule doesn't matter, what about this rule? You didn't enforce this rule. What about this rule?
And I think,
to be fair, they should be enforcing the plush rule. Per the document, you're only allowed to have 2 plushes on stage, and there were people up there with 3 or 4 plushes. They're breaking the rules.
Banned. I've seen the arguments like it should be, that it's not feasible to spend hundreds of hours on team composition, and then it should be the best strategist. And like, we can get into the topic of grinding and how grindy the game is, blah, 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 blah. And like, the answer to that is, would it be better for you to submit the team that you want and have Pokemon create it and give it to you at the competition and be like, okay, here's what you have. Like, here's your rental team based off of what you've submitted because we've seen this as possible. Like, there is no competition that exists that doesn't involve hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours of prep. That isn't a thing. Like, you can go get a chessboard and they're going to bring out a pristine chessboard and they're going to bring out a clean deck of cards and crack it the first time. Like, if this is what you want, then they can certainly do that. But you have to decide what side you're falling on. If you want it to just be about strategist and not about team building, then you're going to require that company to take that part away from you and just give you stuff to walk up on stage with. This isn't... Grinding isn't fun, correct. But also... nobody can be certain if you have things that are hacked that you're that good person that only went so far and you didn't cross the line. And the unfortunate thing is whenever there's a line to cross, where that line is different for everybody. And it is up to the Pokemon Company to actually draw it hardcore and enforce it. And they are bad at enforcing this sometimes. And I do think that is something to be said about the Pokemon Company is like, you aren't great at enforcing all of your rules and need to get better at it. But you also, if you want a fair competition, can't be outrageously upset that you got caught this time.
Yeah. I mean, like, what I think there's like this like ironic thing of like when you see somebody win. I will use Wolf Glick as an example because like I think Wolf Glick is one of the more famous players. But when he's won matches, he goes up there and he's like, "Here's the 18 people I want to thank. This is the person I play tested with. This is the person who gave me the idea for the team." Like this is a common thing for consistently good VGC players where they work with multiple people. So I don't really buy the like, this is really grindy, how am I going to get Urshifu? Because you work or you play test with people. Not everyone, but I'm saying like these the people that you see consistently winning. Go back and watch a EUIC or a NAIC. I guarantee you the person that stands up there and wins names off a bunch of people they played with. Mm-hmm. So like one of the best player in the world, which was Joe UX9, he had the most points out of anyone in the entire world this season. He messaged a Discord group that I was in and said, "Hey, does anyone have a Thundurus? I need a shiny Thundurus this weekend." And I said, "Joe, I got a shiny Thundurus with 5 ribbons on it, the prankster ability. You let me know if you need me to change it, and I will change it." And he was so excited. That's all it took, was like Joe pinging a Discord and being like, "Does anyone have this Pokemon?" And I thought to myself, holy cow, Joe's going to win this tournament, and he's going to win it with my Thundurus. That's going to be awesome. I'll never win a tournament, but one of my Pokemon can win a tournament. And I sent him the Thundurus, and he ended up not using it because he needed a little bit lower of an attack stat. My Thundurus had like a perfect attack, so he ended up not using it. But he just asked somebody else for another Thundurus, and he got it. Like it's doable. I'm not saying it's like the best, but like there's more than one avenue to get a Pokemon.
You do have to trust those people.
You do have to trust. I mean,
sometimes it has to be last minute, and that's a hard thing to have work.
Like looking at this Game Rant article, Brady Smith says, I tried trading the Mons with a reputable trader, but they didn't pass. So, when you're getting trades, you have to rely that this person is telling you the truth. And again, everybody's line is different. Everybody's going to take the is this modified gen thing in a by a different definition. So his thing is like, I wish they didn't wait until Worlds to up their game, and it's like, well, if they were ever going to up their game, it was definitely going to be a Worlds.
They banned a bunch of Korean people,
right? They had established that they were doing this, and
they banned the top 4 Korean people.
I feel bad for them, but also like, I don't know what your great solution is to fix it, other than turning it all over to the Pokemon Company, submitting your team ahead of time, and letting them make it, approve it, and give it to you when you walk into the door, right? Like, which is a near impossible thing for a company to do, depending on how many people are showing up for competition. The mere fact is everybody's going to take that line in a different spot, and they have to make a decision, and it is going to affect people.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think maybe the only thing I would, well, not the only thing. There's a lot of things. I mean, I see both sides of the argument, but like the one thing is probably like the rusted bottle cap, or a bottle cap that would 0 IV a Pokemon. And the reason you would only do that is specifically for Trick Room, or specifically for your attack stat. This was the Thundurus problem with Joe, is, he was running a support Thundurus, so attack was not needed. And if he was hit with Confuse Ray, which would probably come from a Hurricane, not a Confuse Ray, Hurricane, a pretty common move in VGC, or if he was hit with Foul Play, it would do more damage because his attack stat was just higher. So that's why you would want to lower it. But since my Thundurus is a perfect attack, I caught it with perfect attack because it was guaranteed 3 perfect stats. One of them happened to be attack. I have no way of lowering that. So I don't think there was a lot of Enamoruses. So Enamorus is the hardest competitive Pokemon to get. It's only in one game, and it's at the end of that game, and you can only catch it once. And when you move it over, that's it. If it's not the one you want, you have to redo the whole thing. Now with like something like Glastrier, technically it's at the end of the DLC. But you can check it in that moment, right? Like as soon as you catch it, you can check it and then reset. Enamorus, you can't do that. And Enamorus, you want as low as speed as possible because it's a Trick Room person. So that does give you an advantage. Now a really popular Pokemon like Urshifu is pretty easy to get, honestly. Like you can get it within 2 hours of playing the DLC. Like it's probably one of the easiest legends to get. Also, if you were wanting to use Urshifu, I'm assuming you were maybe playing Sword and Shield, so you probably have an Urshifu and you can use your old Urshifu, but maybe you just started with Scarlet and Violet and you didn't have an Urshifu. So yeah, it's a complicated thing, but like that's why I was so excited about the Moshi thing, because they have made it easier. Bottle caps, mints, the Moshi stuff, like berries, vitamins, they have definitely made it easier, and it doesn't seem like that mattered. It seemed like the people who are genning are still genning. Like even though it is night and day different from Black and White, X and Y, Omega Ruby, Alpha Sapphire, like Sword and Shield and beyond. It's just so much easier to build a team. But there are a lot of players that they don't care about the game part of the, like they don't care about the story. They don't care about seeing the Elite Four. They don't care about customizing their trainer. I get that. There's like, if VGC is their thing, VGC is their thing. But
it is easier to build Pokemon, but it's still not as easy.
Yeah.
As it could be, I guess. I don't know.
Genning is easier.
Yeah.
And as long as
you can get Pokemon in literally 90 seconds, probably less.
Yeah.
You know,
especially with Terra types, they still haven't announced a way to do that faster yet.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like, I don't know. It would be nice if they had a way to do that customization in game. Like you catch it in game, and then there's a way like through the bottle cap system, but like into like an additional thing where you would spend like a platinum bottle cap and you could set where you wanted the IVs or whatever, like to help eliminate it. But again, there's never going to be a great answer, right? Like it is just doing what you can.
Yep.
And there's the other side of like, if these people aren't banned or if the rules aren't enforced, it's like, well, why would I bother even doing it? They're not enforcing it. I'll just continue genning. So it's like,
which has happened, and that's why this happened so much this year.
They have to put their foot down at some point, right? It's like peeling off a Band-Aid. There's not a good way to. It's never going to be a perfect time to do it. Again, I don't know the head judge situation.
A lot of Pokemon peeling off Band-Aids this year.
Sure is. I don't know the black box situation. Like, don't know if the box is better. Don't know if the hack checks are better. Don't know if that is something they're working on or they have been working on. If you go into Pokemon Home, there's like a notice of like, we'll remove Pokemon. I know people are annoyed that they're getting Zacian.net traded. I don't even know what the website is anymore. They keep changing it.
Oh, it changes all the time.
Zacian.net. Like if you get a Wonder traded Pokemon as a website, I guarantee you they just want to sell you more. Yeah. Hey, there was a fist fight that happened over a skateboard. That was something.
That was wild.
But it sounds like
what else
in
did you guys-
general, just the other thing I was wondering is that in general, it did seem like everything was kind of more put together than you expected it to be, or no? Just the non-competitive aspects.
I think the Excel Center for London was a better venue. There is something about walking into that venue and having like stadium seating to watch on this huge stage, like the battles, like you were in like actual cloth stadium, like almost movie theater like seats, and it held a lot of people. There was none of that here. It was just chairs on the ground because it was a flat convention center. I mean, they opened up with a Japanese drum thing, performance. That's probably the word, which was really cool. The production was really good, minus some of the technical stuff. But it felt slightly off, but other things made up for it. Like the Pokemon Center was much better laid out. It was a lot wider. It was like kind of like an IKEA hallway where you kind of had to go through everything to get to the end versus like this weird maze that was London's, and London's was kind of tighter. They did have limits right off the bat of like this plush is 2, the deck boxes and the dice, they were behind the counter and you had to pick up a card, and they were only giving out so many cards in the morning. So that wasn't like this, people were not running for these items because they were very sought after. They went through the line and asked if people wanted them in the line and gave out cards. So like Pokemon Center wise, like top tier. I mean, the nightmare of the situation was just so many people wanted to get in, but like the actual organization of it, and from what I was told, they had triple the amount of product that they had for London. An interesting thing about the Pokemon Center is they had all English cards. And there was not a single, oh, my light died. We were talking too long. There was not a single for the audio listeners, I had this light so it wasn't so dark in my room, but it said 2 hours. Maybe it has been 2 hours. They only had English cards. And so I asked the the Pokemon guy who, his name is Stefan, who got me out here and gave me the hotel and everything. I was like, why is there only English cards? We're in Japan. And he said there's a card drought in Japan right now, and they only had English cards. They don't have Japanese cards. And so if you go to a Pokemon Center in Japan, there's no cards on the shelves either. You can go up to the counter and they will let you buy 5 booster packs. Not a box, just 5 individual packs, but you have to go to the counter and ask. Wow. And they'll only sell you 5 a day. And then I was also told by people who were very into TCG collection that if you went to Akihabara, you could get booster boxes and more packs, but they like haggle you because the Pokemon company told them they're not allowed to sell more than 1 box a person. But if you have enough money, they will sell you as many boxes as you want.
Alrighty then.
Capitalism.
And that was a real,
Yep.
I talked to many people that were like, I went in to buy a box and they offered me a second box because I was willing to pay the up cost of the first box. So here, for an example, let's say a box is like $60 because there's smaller boxes in the US. They're charging $100. So if you're willing to buy the boxes $100, then they know you're serious and they'll put a second box on top. And they'll be like, well, we'll sell you both boxes for $200. And then they'll like maybe low. Then if you're willing to buy both boxes, they'll put a third box on top. And they're like, what about like $290 for all 3? Because they want the most profit as possible, but they don't want you to know they have multiple boxes without knowing you have the money. Mm-hmm. It's crazy. It's like the Pokemon drought here is crazy.
Pokemon Summer
So that's a
having
thing
an
that's
effect.
happening here.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So only English cards. I think they sold out, for the record. I think the English cards did sell out. Although I don't know how into English cards Japanese people are. Obviously, there's a lot of people from Germany and the United States and Canada here. So I don't know what I just know they sold out. Everything sold out.
That's not too surprising.
No.
It was, I will say that the finals, even though I thought the like Masters final was kind of lackluster, not both incredible players, it just wasn't as exciting as the juniors or the seniors. Like those are maybe because they I think both went to game 3 or something. The crowd was out of control. They were so hyped. They were so excited. They were so loud. I've never seen a crowd cheer that a Gastrodon used Protect before. It was amazing.
Gastrodon was the star of the show.
Yeah,
As
all
per usual.
Gastrodon all the time.
Pokemon gave me access to Masuda and Ishihara signings. I felt gross because, well, I shouldn't say. I felt like they let me cut the line, and I was like, this kind of sucks because these people are waiting and I'm cutting the line. But at the same time, I was like, I don't want to wait in this line, so I guess
But at the same time, you give them a ton of free advertising for no pay. So
yeah. At the same time, I immediately after I was done with the line, I was like, all right, we're gonna bust out a YouTube video real quick. So it was absolutely no phones. There was no staged pictures. So you can be like, Masuda, picture. You could not bring your backpack up. It had to like stay off the stage. They were like, your phone cannot come out of your pocket. If it does, we're exiting you off immediately. You couldn't wear a hat. No hats. That was a rule. They enforced that rule. You talking about people getting banned for hat Pokemon? You're getting thrown off the stage if you're wearing a hat. No hats for Masuda or Ishihara. Huh. Don't know why. That was a rule. Masuda, they both had a translator, but Masuda was like, the translator was like, where are you from? Is this your first time in Japan? How are you enjoying it? That was kind of like the gist that they were kind of asking everyone. I was like, hey man, like I didn't say hey man. I was like, hey, we met in London. We talked about Cramorant. And then he was like, ooh, because that's Cramorant's Japanese name. And then we all like laughed because it's a dumb name for a Pokemon in Japanese, but like it makes sense because it's supposed to be like the sound of choking. And that was like kind of our moment, is like we just laughed about Cramorant, and then he signed. So you couldn't bring them anything to sign. They were just signing some postcard, which like so many people in line were like talking about like the items they had that they brought. And then like, as they got closer, they slowly realized that he wasn't signing those items. And then Ishihara was like, no talking. The translator was like, hey, how's it going? Okay, goodbye. Like, Masuda did shake your hand though, which was very American. It felt very weird to like shake a Japanese person, like, because they don't normally do that. They're normally like bow. But he was very different than last year. Last year when I met Masuda, it was you had to have a mask, absolutely no touching him, keep it very short. You did get a picture and video. Picture was okay to post. No posting of your video. Your video was for personal use. So no Instagram, no YouTube. Do not post this video. It was like a very sterile meeting with him, but it was like nice. But this, he felt very like, yeah, I'm shaking hands and I'm signing things. And if you had somebody holding your phone like 30 feet away, they could take a picture of you and hope it's good. Because I don't know how you do that better. Like, Pokemon's so weird when it comes to their executives and meeting people, and neither of these people speak good English, which is fine. Like, that's like their English is not great. So I don't know. It was an okay experience. I'm not a big autograph person, so it's like,
Yeah.
I think meeting them is cool, but I don't know. I've never been an autograph person. I know some people are very into that, and that's cool for them, but it's never done anything for me. Like, it's just never been like, oh man, cool, I got Michael Jordan's autograph.
Yeah.
So I get why they were only signing postcards and not like, oh, can you please sign my TCG card?
Yeah,
I know there's a bunch of vendors out there that I can flip this.
Yeah, it gets out of hand real quick.
So I understand. Yeah, it wasn't a complete disaster at all. For some reason, actually, the venue was laid out very poorly. They put the escalators in certain positions, so like you would get to the end of a hallway on the second floor and then realize you couldn't go down because the escalators were only set to up. And then they put these like plastic chains to like direct like the flow of, like, you can only go like south and you can only go north because the chains are going. But like, it didn't make sense, because if you were going north, you'd get to the end of the hallway and be like, I can't go down, so now I have to go back around. So and I was like, maybe they're going to change this the second or third day, because this sucks. Like, it's so confusing to be like, I'm walking to a dead end and I don't know it till I get there.
Yeah.
Nope, they kept it all weekend. So like, I guess people learned of like,
Yeah, learner get stuck.
Was there a map? Were there good maps?
No.
Okay.
I also don't know how you would know what was happening. So there was one building that was the Pokemon Center, and then above that was like the media room, and also the line that they were filtering in the Pokemon Center, because the Pokemon Center was on the first floor, but the line was like technically on the second floor, and they would filter you down into it, which I guess makes sense. It was nice in the instant. It was nice because those people were in air conditioning, so you had to suffer like 2 hours in the heat, and then you had like an hour of air conditioning that you waited in, and then got inside. So that was like, okay. And then the second building was the hall where the competition was, the seating was. They had a lot of props. They had a lot of photo areas. They had plenty of huge monitors, projectors. They were really high quality projectors and stuff. So like crystal clear if you weren't sitting close to the stage. So that was all beautiful and great. And then they had another building, which they didn't really talk about, but that building was attached to a hotel. It was attached to the Intercontinental, and it was called the conference hall. And in there was TCG Classic. So they showed you the board and the deck boxes, and then like the plastic magnetic things that were the markers. That was really cool. And they showed all that, but there was no cards. They had cards on the wall that you could like take pictures of, but they explained the product to you. This is going to be like a $250 product. Like
this is the big fancy one.
Yeah.
Super nice. And then they did have people playing the card game like every 30 minutes. It was like 2 Japanese people that would like play through, because it comes with 3 pre-made decks. But you weren't allowed to take pictures of those cards. So it was like no photos here, which I'm assuming maybe they were like, they don't want people to take pictures to try to like fake that stuff. Then there was like a master's booth, but it was like a AR photo thing. So you'd get like a picture of you and it would like put you in the game as like a character. It was kind of cool. I didn't do that though. And then there was like a Tera Raid area for people. And then there was like learn how to play Unite. And that was in this booth. And then behind it was, they had the mascots for the manhole covers. So they had like Chansey and Geodude and Psyduck and stuff.
Nice.
And then sometimes those mascots would show up, like Chansey. Like you could get a picture with Chansey and it was like wobbling through the hallway to like. But they also were selling like items that were per the region. So like Alolan Ninetales and Ninetales are in like Sapporo. They're in the snowy part of Japan. I don't remember that, but that's where their manhole cover is too. Mm-hmm. So they were like selling rice that was exclusive from that region of Japan. So each manhole is representing a different region. They had a store. That store like sold out very quickly.
That sounds very Japanese and kind of lovely.
Yep.
Yeah. But you would never know that place existed because there was no map. And I just randomly stumbled upon it. And then they had the whole park in the back, the Mitsuzuri Park or whatever, the Japanese festival, which was ticketed. And then they had the giant boat SSN that you can go on, that was ticketed. And then they had the...
Sorry, I couldn't tell what word you were trying to say. Matsuri. It means festival.
Yes. And then they had the mall next to the convention hall, and that had the card walk, which had every single Pokemon in card form on like all 8 floors, and they had bigger cards, and they had the giant Pikachu that was taking it up, and then they had a pop-up Pokemon Center in there. And then on the top floor, again, they didn't tell us this. I didn't discover this until the end of the second day. On the very top floor, they had a Pokemon Cafe that they opened, and they were doing Ice Cube pops, where it was like Ice Cube, and you would lick it, and then it would have like the
no ice,
the tiny head. And they closed early today on Sunday because they ran out of stuff. But nowhere is it like, hey, the cafe is on the 8th floor of this giant mall. Just keep going up, up, up. They had a pop-up Pokemon Center in the mall, which also sold out and closed every day at 6 because it was so busy. They had photo ops in the mall. They had all the artwork, like the Onyx and the Eevee umbrella and the Psyduck umbrella and the Tandem Mouse and a bunch of stuff like the Butterfree wings. That's all over that mall. They had a drone show every night that was free. I could keep going. They just had so much stuff. Like when I walked over to the boat today, they had wooden Trevenant and like hiding in the bushes, and they had all these Pokemon around the SSN, and I was like, it was a 20-minute walk to get here, and you have more Pokemon stuff over. Like, no one would know this, because if you didn't have a ticket to the boat, you wouldn't come over here and see all these restaurants and everything that was like decked out. It's like both a good, like the bad thing is they poorly communicated it, but the good thing was like, if you didn't know what to do and you just walked in a general direction, you would find more things to do. So it was cool. Like when you scanned your little like ticket to get on a train, it said Pika. That was cool. They changed the train tickets. The train stations also had pop-up Pokemon centers and other things to do, but I didn't go to the train station because I was like stuck in Yokohama. Like I didn't have to leave Yokohama, so I didn't have to go to the train station. But Japanese people, like, no surprise. I guess it's maybe a surprise if you've never been to Japan. They love lines. They're really good at forming lines. So even like the manhole covers had a line. People just got in line to be like, okay, we're all going to take pictures of the manhole cover one by one. This country is very good at forming lines. They're very good at standing in lines. America not. America does not know what single file is. As somebody who needed to get in multiple lines when the Pokemon Company was busing us around this country, Americans do not know what single file is.
It sounds really incredible to just have Pokemon all over like that, even if it was a little bit not well communicated. A good map would have helped.
Maybe if there was maps, but maybe they ran out. I don't know. Like, I didn't even know where to get maps. There were some lines. I didn't know what the line was for. I had no clue. Like, outside the convention center, there was a tent where people were lining up. I have no clue where they were going. I don't know where they were going. I don't know what they were doing. There was nothing to signify what they were waiting in line for. The line just came and went. They disappeared into the ether. I don't know. They were just gone. I have no clue. They did a Go thing as well. Different this year. So when you bought your spectator pass or you picked up your competitor pass, you got a code that you would have to redeem, and redeeming the code would make the spawns happen. And they were geofenced as well. So not only did you need a code, you had to be within the fence. So my hotel, for the record, I did not pay for, was connected to the building of the Pokemon Center, which was then one building away from the expo hall, which was then one building away from the convention hall. In my hotel, I could not see any of the stops, any of the gyms, any of the Pokemon, and I would literally walk out of my hotel and walk 4 feet, and then they would all spawn in.
Huh.
So, like, I couldn't invite people to Pikachu raids because those raids didn't exist on the map for them, so it would just error out. So Niantic ticketed it. Well, it was free. You just had to have a spectator pass and enter a code. And then on top of that, they geofenced it. So you couldn't, like, I couldn't just, like, give you the code hand and be like, all right, like.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like that's kind of what they do for GoFests too. You don't always have a code, but you need to have bought the thing.
For Seattle Go Fest, you could be pretty far away and still see all the spawns in the park.
Okay.
But I guess they would turn off.
I've definitely seen some GoFests, or at least some YouTubers who have walked outside of a geofence and had everything disappear.
Yeah. Well, I guess GoFest now are like 4 geofenced areas, so things get weird when you're like crossing that line from like volcanic sulfur to electric sheep or whatever weird names they decide to pick.
Marie. Yeah.
So yeah, the GoFest thing was, or the Go event was cool. They had a lot of like giveaways and distributions. Yeah, it's like weird to have such a big Pokemon event and then just be like, I'm never in the convention hall to watch any of these matches because like I'm doing.
There's too much going on.
Also, the community day was like during finals. And did you guys get like a quest line that was like?
It hasn't happened here yet.
Oh yeah, so we got a quest line that was, you know how it's under like the limited one that's like timed, and if you don't do it, it's gone forever. And then there's like the special, like when you pay the $1, you get it forever, right? Like catch 5 Froakie, then catch 10 more Froakie. We got one that was like 6 steps, and every step just gave you, it was like catch 3 Pokemon with berries, spin 3 Pokestops, and it was like 6 steps of all those, and it just gave you Froakies. So I don't know if they gave that to us because they knew we weren't going to like leave the hall, or if that was always planned. But no other community day has had this. But they were all just Froakie. I didn't finish it because I was like, I don't need any more Froakie.
Yeah, I mean, the $1 pass is often a lot like that, but that sounds like something specifically
this
for
is
Worlds.
free
maybe.
and gave you way better rewards than the $1 pass. Like it gave you 1,000 Stardust and a bunch of other stuff every like set you completed, and there was 6 sets.
Nice.
Community Day during finals was bad. It was a bad decision.
Yep, especially with such a popular Pokemon.
It was also, they were giving out, I don't have it, I wish I had it. They were giving out wristbands that had lights on them, and they ran out, and then randomly they got more, and they gave me one, and from my understanding, they lit up depending on what match was happening. So if TCG's matches were on the screen, it would like light up blue, and then if it was VGC, it would light up red, and then if it was Go, it would light up green. And when I walked out of the convention, it stopped working, and then it never worked again. But then I was at a restaurant after everything was over, and like other people's were still lit up, and I was like, I don't know what I did wrong. Mine's not lighting up anymore. Also, somebody handed this to me and never explained what it did or why I should wear it. That's the theme of the whole convention. I guess the theme of everything is like, no one knows what's happening. And it's not because of a language barrier. It's just legitimately no one knows what's happening.
There's Pokemon everywhere. You're just going to have to figure out why.
Yeah. I traded with some old ladies. They were very happy to get Bouffalant.
Mm-hmm.
That was
cool.
You
got to finish the clone Pokemon. I'm envious of that.
Yeah, I also learned this weekend, because I posted that on Instagram, that people didn't know clone Pokemon were in the game. That was like
it was a busy
5 years ago?
No, it was at the very beginning of the pandemic. It was March 2020.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I am missing the Charizard. Yeah.
Yeah, it was Charizard, Venusaur, Blastoise, and Pikachu.
Did they have the clone Pikachu?
Yeah,
there are too many
you could get clone Pikachu out of research. I have two clone
too many
Pikachu.
Costume Pikachu.
Did it have a hat?
No.
Clone Pikachu couldn't be shiny, from my understanding. I think I think all these were shiny locked. But maybe I could be wrong. Somebody could correct me. But I guess I would need a shiny clone Pikachu if that was a real thing. I'm unsure on that. It could be.
Yeah, there are too many costume Pikachu. Oh, there are. Yep. I don't know about the shiny, but it's in there.
Okay, so after Worlds, they announced that Meowscarada, Mimikyu, and Blaziken are coming to Pokemon Unite. So, Greg, give me your thoughts.
I called Meowscarada, just for the record.
That's true.
They're interesting, according to the backgrounds that they showed in the preview, because all the backgrounds mean the role. Both Blaziken and Mimikyu are all-rounders, and Meowscarada is a speedster. So we have a lot of all-rounders. Like Mewtwo is an all-rounder. So I'm not really sure what's going to set these apart, because they didn't give a whole lot of information. They kind of showed the cool things that they do.
They're just 3 popular Pokemon. That's it.
But yeah, they're just 3 popular Pokemon, and I'm sure they'll be fine. Like, it's exciting to see them in. It's always fun when you get new ones. Hopefully they won't be broken like Mewtwo still is.
No new map?
Not announced yet. Everybody's expecting it to come, but they haven't announced a new map. So maybe not this year?
Huh.
They didn't announce it that I've seen.
Yeah, I mean, like, normally what they announce at Worlds is a bit competitive focused, so announcing 3 Pokemon for Unite makes sense.
Yeah.
For TCG, they showed off ancient and future Pokemon around the Paradox Pokemon. This, to me, seemed very similar to when they introduced Rapid Strike and, was the other one like Single Strike?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which certain cards benefited rapid, certain abilities benefited single. So there's not a lot of paradox Pokemon. So
Not yet.
it's whatever. It's like the next gimmick. It's fine. And then they announced, and they made a big deal about this, that they're bringing about ace spec cards. And you very quickly, when those words are said, figure out who has or has not played the TCG. Because if you have played the TCG for a while, you know exactly what those are. And if you haven't, you're like, why is this a big deal? Because they made it a big deal. And so ace spec cards are very powerful cards that you're only allowed one in your deck. And they are item based. So there are like radiant cards. So like Radiant Greninja, you can only play one of those because it's a radiant card. But that's a Pokemon. So these are items. So a good old ace spec card would be Master Ball. You can only have one Master Ball in your deck, and obviously it got you any Pokemon you wanted. Like, it's very powerful. Or there was like Computer Search, which was very popular in black and white. Most ace specs were around like the black and white time, which was like discard 2 cards and get any card in your deck you want, which was, you know, an equivalent to that would be like Ultra Ball. Ultra Ball was like discard 2 cards, but get any Pokemon you want. This is discard 2 cards and get any card you want. Dowsing Machine was like another one. So again, you can have one ace spec, not one of each ace spec, just one ace spec in your deck, period. And so you have to pick between, I think there was like 8 or 9 ace spec back in black and white. So you pick which of the 9. There's no reason not to have one because they're so good. So like every deck has one ace spec. Obviously you probably wouldn't have like a Radiant Greninja if you were playing like a fire deck. There would be like no benefit to that. So TCG, that was like pretty exciting and really good. And I have more TCG stuff because I met with creatures, but we'll do that in a future episode. And then for the video game, they showed a lot of priority moves. They were like, everything's just going first.
Yep.
They showed a couple. But they also showed...
I can't remember what the electric one was called.
Oh.
But it one-shot a Delibird, or the Iron Bundle, which is like kind of big, because Iron Bundle right now is the fastest Pokemon in the meta. Although I don't know how many we saw this past weekend, but like it's faster than Regieleki. So having they purposely showed off, hey, look at this Pokemon one-shot a Delibird or an Iron Bundle, and it was faster because it was priority. Like that was very purposeful. And they gave the weird King Cobalion the double kick steal move, which obviously gets through Mimikyu's disguise, which again, another intentional kind of thing. And then they showed all the starter Pokemon.
Yes. Yep. If you have a favorite starter that's not in the game yet, it's going to be in there with the DLC. I'm finally going to get to bring my Blaziken back in. I'm happy.
I get to catch everything in a luxury ball.
I saw people saying like this is the first time you can catch wild starters. Did they not play Let's Go or Legends or BDSP? Like I just named 3 games where you could catch wild starters. Or like Sun and Moon, where they were in that QR code thing. I guess those were not in the wild, but they appeared. Hey, starters sell copies. Mm-hmm. That was
I've been working on getting all the ribbons on my Blaziken. My Blaziken is my oldest Pokemon. I have had her since Ruby, and I'm like excited to bring her back up to the newest games.
That's awesome. What else did they show in that trailer? Starters was the big thing, and then
the new Tera thing.
The Tera.
Rainbow Tera. We don't know what it is yet.
Yeah, the 19th Tera. I guess if I'm going to speculate, I think it could be like 2 things, but I think the second one is more likely. I could be completely wrong, which is totally cool too. Whatever. I'm okay with being wrong. The first is I think it could work like Protean, which is Greninja's ability, well, Cinderace's ability, where you hit it and then it will lock into like one of your moves. So, for example, if you like Throat Chop, Quick Attack, and Flare Blitz, if you hit Flare Blitz first, you're going to lock into Fire. That doesn't make like a lot of sense because you would still have to hit the Terastallize button. It would make sense the turn afterwards. I think the thing that might be more likely, but again, I'm probably wrong, is that this Tera is only super effective against that same Tera. So you lose all of your weaknesses altogether, and you're only weak to the Rainbow Tera. So if I'm like Gastrodon, and I'm weak to grass, and if I go water, I'm still weak to grass. And if I go fire, well, I'm not weak to fire is a bad example because now they would use a water type move, but I would water absorb it. But if I went electric, I'm not weak to ground. But if I go Rainbow Tera, I'm not weak to anything except other people going Rainbow Tera.
Yeah, okay. Maybe.
Yeah.
We just don't know yet.
Yeah.
There was one screenshot that they showed of it that was a Baxcalibur,
Yes.
but that didn't give too much
But
of a clue.
that did give, I think, information because
Yeah, a
the
little.
Baxcalibur had a Dragon type move. So Dragon is super effective against... It was Baxcalibur versus Dragonite. So Baxcalibur had like Dragon Rush. That would be super effective, and it shows that it's super effective. And then it has Icicle Crash, which is also super effective. But when the Rainbow Tera was not super effective, it was just normal. So if it was Dragon, it would have been super effective. If it was Ice, it would have been super effective. If it was Fairy, it would have been super effective. So if it's supposed to be every type, why is it not super effective? So is it only super effective against its own type?
Okay.
So I think that does, I don't know. But also he didn't hit the button yet.
Yeah.
So like
Yeah.
is that Tera also supposed to be with the masks? Like, do you have to have like holding a mask item in order to hit that button? But then it's like you also have to have the Tera and then the held item, which doesn't make a lot of sense because they wanted to get away with that with like Z moves. I don't know.
Tera is a little bit more involved than I expected it to be. I didn't expect it to go much beyond the Tera forms that we had kind of been speculating about. This is new.
Yeah.
The Terapagos and Ogerpon have different forms when they Terastallize.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it was a pretty short trailer, but like the starter Pokemon and the second or the Rainbow Tera isn't coming until the second DLC.
Right.
So
we have time to speculate. Get your answers in now.
None of the fun stuff is coming till the second DLC.
Get wrecked first DLC. Sorry, new Pokemon. Hey, Diplin, you're garbage. Hey, Staple Remover, you're also garbage.
We didn't say this, but I think this is the first tournament where there was no practicing. There was no tournaments before that. It was like a brand new format. I think it went actually better than I would have ever imagined. There were so many unique teams, and there was so much variety. And at least being there and hearing the crowd, it was probably the most. It could have just been Japan. Who knows? It just seemed like people were very into. Like there was a Sneasler team that did really well. There was the Articuno team and Abomasnow that did really well. There was a Breloom that people were like overly excited for. Usually, like I feel like at past tournaments, there's only like one of those teams that stand out. But it felt like there's a Brambleghast that was like killing it for a while. That people were like very excited for the Brambleghast. It just felt like even if you look at the finals, like the guy who came in second, which like. I don't know. I kind of wish there was a game 3 to that. But the guy who came in second had a Dragapult and a Farigiraf. Like, it was like, what? You made it to finals of the Farigiraf? Like, that's so cool. And now we're gonna get like an Amoonguss distribution because the guy who won had an Amoonguss, and that was like the only Pokemon. It's like our 14th Amoonguss. Amoonguss and Gastrodon just always winning. It was good. I don't know. Worlds was good. It was not the disaster I thought it was, but there was a lot of like. I feel like the points that would have been super weak were just countered with like, here's more Pokemon things to distract you. Yeah. And if this was like any other Worlds, like if I applied all of these problems to like a DC or a Nashville, it would have been a disaster because they didn't have anything else to do. But then when they drowned you with a million activities and a million events and everywhere you look is Pokemon, it's like, it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
I don't know if I expect to see this many Pokemon events at future Worlds, but they have been ramping it up each year. DC didn't have that much. They had some cardboard cutouts and stuff to pose with. They had a movie you could go see. And then London last year.
Sure did.
London last year had a whole bunch, had some decorations around the city, had the lifts with the Pokemon on them, and then this year there's just Pokemon everywhere.
Yeah. And so don't know how that's going to transition into Hawaii, which is their fourth time going back. They like Hawaii. Yeah. They like Hawaii for a lot of reasons. It's in between Japan and America. They're two most popular countries. If you watch my reaction, I said, I think it's going to be Hawaii, and I don't want it to be Hawaii. And then it was Hawaii. Mm-hmm. So, not to anyone's fault, but there is a disaster happening in Hawaii right now. Well, maybe it is somebody's fault. I actually don't know that, but
we don't know.
Like, the Pokemon company no one planned for this to happen, right? The announcement of Hawaii during a disaster that's happening in Hawaii right now. It sucks.
Not great optics.
Yeah.
The cool thing is, and I don't know, the Pokemon company has been pretty generous the last couple of years with like Black Lives Matters and a couple other organizations in between. They said they were donating $250,000 to, or is it 200,000?
200,000.
It's a lot of zeros. To Hawaii for their causes. And then they announced it was Hawaii. They had Pikachu on a beach, and that was kind of it. I can tell you, at least in the venue, everyone was excited. And I don't know if that was the energy of just coming off a world championship. And then you look at social media, and everyone was, upset.
There are a few different things to be upset about.
Yeah. I mean, that's like saying everybody's always excited for the new iPhone at the Apple event, and then social media comes in. People who aren't huge fans of it are like, Hawaii is a choice, and there are better choices maybe to have been made.
Yeah, I think... go ahead.
The fires are a relatively... the fires are one thing. The other thing is that Native Hawaiians have been asking people for years to come to Hawaii less or stop the over-tourism. Next year, 2024, was already expected to be the record-breaking year of tourism with the largest amount of tourism in that country yet. And this, I don't think that when they say that, they were just talking to Americans. I get that it's a very popular destination for Japanese tourists as well, but this does factor in.
Yeah, I don't... There are some Hawaiians that don't mind the tourism, and then there are a lot of Hawaiian... It just depends on who you ask, right?
It is a very complicated thing. I will say this: there are more ethical ways to take in Hawaiian tourism if you are interested in being a much better global citizen and understanding Hawaii is a very limited resource. The volcanoes make new islands. They don't keep the old ones up. So if you want to do this, if you have any sense of wanting to do this ethically, please research how to ethically visit Hawaii if you are going to go to this Worlds.
And yeah.
There's a lot to be said about going or not going. Again, if you are going to make the choice that feels right for you, please attempt to do it in the most ethical way possible. And there are a lot of resources online that can help you with that.
Yeah, I think for me, Hawaii was not on my travel destination list at all. Personally, Hawaii is a very outdoorsy place. There's a lot of things to do outside. Also, like I heard people comparing it to like Japan. It's not like Japan. Like I know the US dollar is really strong right now, so it's like I got a whole meal in Japan for 1,700 yen for 2 people. That's like $13 USD. That same meal to, I don't know, like a Panera would have been $35. Like food in Japan is really cheap. Transportation in Japan is really cheap. Getting around is very easy. There's also, it's a bigger country. Well, Hawaii's not a country. It's a bigger island. There's like, I want to go to a museum. It's a 2-hour train ride away. And that train ride's going to cost like $5 because trains are great. Everything in Hawaii is expensive. You want a gallon of milk? It's like $20.
Yeah.
It's because they have to ship literally everything to that island. And tourism aside, which that's their own issues, I just don't know how the Pokemon Company puts on... Hawaii paid for this, right? Like these states, countries, they bid for things, right? That's why you saw so many things in Vegas. That's why you saw GoFest in Vegas. That's why you're seeing TwitchCon in Vegas. That's why you're seeing so many, because Vegas needs tourists. That's how they make all their money. Mm-hmm. They paid a lot of money for a lot of events in 2023. It's very obvious. They want the tourism. Hawaii as a state wants the tourism. Maybe the people don't. So who knows when that deal was made? It's not like they made it last week. Yep. Usually deals for these huge conventions to bring tourism are made months in advance. Happens to be a fire happening on top of already the pre-established issues in Hawaii.
And there
I don't know how they do
that exist to donate to the fire damage. This is the most damaging wildfire, the deadliest wildfire in the U.S. in modern history. More people have died in this wildfire than any other U.S. wildfire in modern history. So there are mutual aid funds, there are community funds that exist. Maybe do a little research into the funds first, but wanted to mention that those exist.
Yeah. I just don't know how they like top London or Yokohama or anything.
I mean, there's a lot. There's a lot, right? Like, it's not going to be it's not cooling down anytime soon. There's a wildfire happening now. We hope that it is not a precedent. But if we look at California...
Yeah. I mean, the wildfire right now is on a different island. Honolulu is on Oahu, and the wildfires are on Maui. But
right.
When I was a kid, wildfires didn't happen in Oregon to the extent that they do these days. And these days, you kind of expect the smoke every year.
Yeah. So it's, again, I'm not going to judge your choice to go or not to go. I would just ask that if you are going to go, please research how to do it ethically. Please try to look at the options to better support Native Hawaiians than the very large conglomerations that make a lot of money off of Native Hawaiians. So there are ways to do it more ethically. Just research them and proceed. Like, we can't make the company undo the decision. Like, we're not going to convince Pokemon to not do Hawaii. Yeah. The only thing you can do is cause the least amount of damage given the situation, and, you know, decide if going to this is fits within what you think is ethical and what you want to do.
I know there are a lot of people that were upset they couldn't go to London because it was expensive, because, you know, international travel kind of opened up around there. I know a lot of people were upset they couldn't go to Japan because Japan, just in general, expensive to travel to. Sometimes not. Recently it is. Hawaii, the most expensive state to travel to in the United States. Mm-hmm. So I'm coming on here and saying, maybe this is just the third year you skip. Like, you can travel to way cooler places and probably have a better time and save a lot of money than Hawaii. If you're competing, obviously that's what Greg said. I get it. You're competing. You want to win. I totally understand. I just don't think that this sounds like an amazing event compared to Yokohama or London. Yeah. And it's also very expensive, and there's all the other issues around it. So maybe it sucks because people are like, will it come back to the United States? Technically it is.
Technically it did.
Maybe skip this one. It sucks because I want to encourage people to come to Worlds. And that's what I said in DC. And then the pandemic happened. And I'm like, they've done such a good job of making this a celebration of Pokemon. And even if there wasn't fires, even if there wasn't the, you know, native Hawaiians not loving what is happening to their state, Hawaii is just so expensive to fly to travel to get lodging, to buy lunch, dinner, breakfast. Is just an incredibly expensive state. And if you thought Japan was expensive, look into Hawaii prices.
Yeah, it's a choice. I as much as I want to go to a Worlds, I do not think this is the one for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty uncomfortable with the decision for a number of reasons. On stage, they did say they're going to be looking into other ways to support the wildfire stuff, though. So they did at least acknowledge it during the announcement, as well as the $200,000 donation. They acknowledged that part.
Our podcast is going really well. The last thing I'll say is I hope there's a silver lining here. I hope the silver lining is when it comes to gaming, I felt like Pokemon was one of the first companies that made a huge donation to the Black Lives Matters movement. And then whether or not it was a coincidence, but you did see a lot of other companies match that, follow Pokemon in that, whether that was Bungie or Logitech or Epic Games, right? Like, I'm sure Pokemon wasn't the first big gaming company to do that, but it seemed like it got a lot of traction when it did. And Pokemon has donated to a lot of other good causes. So I guess the silver lining is I hope we see other gaming industries and other industries in general donate to Hawaii to help out that cause. So the nice thing about Pokemon being one of the biggest brands in the world is companies like to follow what the biggest brands in the world are doing. So again, I hope that's like some silver lining from this poorly announced announcement. The money was great.
Money's great. Any help they can provide is great.
So, that's our episode. Hopefully it is up on time. It is 3 a.m. here. I have to move hotels today. That's okay. I knew there was going to be a lot to talk about. I went to Creatures, and I was there for 6 hours, and I have so much to tell you guys about the trading card game and their offices and everything. That's probably the most exciting thing I want to talk to everyone about was the Creatures visit. I have to reread there's like one thing they didn't want, like, don't talk about this. But we'll do that for like a bonus episode. And I might just wait till I get back because this time zone thing is a little messy. It's easy for you guys. Thank you.
I got the sun in my eyes.
I got no light. My light died.
Your light died.
Yeah,
sitting in the
we're on the
dark.
opposite sides of the
Wrap
light.
it up. We're super effective. Let's get out of here.
Like, comment, subscribe on YouTube. Thank you, Anna. Thank you, Greg. This has been another episode of the Pokemon Podcast, and we are
Super effective.
Super. These events sure are happening. Effective.
Things are happening, aren't they? Oh boy!